Welcome to the Broadside Podcast.
With host, my dad, Andy Elliott.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Broadside Podcast. I'm Andy Elliott, and I know I missed a week, didn't get some episodes out. This next one I recorded a while back, but it's hunting season, so we got some other stuff going on. This episode I got joined by Will Christison. Will is a Western Washington resident and a first-generation hunter. He has the YouTube channel Next Generation Hunter. You can find him on Instagram at Next Generation Hunter as well. And we talk a lot about his story of kind of growing up, quote-unquote, hippie with some hippie parents and the transitioning to, a true conservationist and hunter here in Washington State. And, a couple of hunts he's been on and some tags he's filled. So thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Yeah. Will, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and telling everybody a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Andy. So my name's Will Christison. I'm a lifelong Washingtonian. I moved here when I was 3 years old, my family from Colorado, and just recently became a adult onset hunter, as Hannah said in your last podcast with the new hunter. So I'm 25 years old. I started hunting when I was 22, just about turned 22, I think. So it's been about 3.5 years since I've been hunting. And just loving the life, man. It just changed my life completely and got me in touch with, food, got me in touch with the outdoors, helped with my mental health, helped with my physical health. And it's got me in touch with a lot of really cool people doing a lot of cool things like you and Dane and Hannah and the rest of the Conservation Coalition of Washington, which, I'm one of the key members, one of the, what do they call it? The Dirty 12 or the
Dirty Dozen. Yeah. Yep.
The Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been really great, man. It's just, the community is amazing. Hunting's amazing. Food's amazing. Just outdoors is amazing. So just can't make that more clear. And I guess the other thing about me is I started a little Instagram just to kind of chronicle my journey through it, right? It's called Next Generation Hunter, and I basically post all of the things that I find interesting about hunting and how to use the meat most sustainably, how to pick up litter and make sure we're doing the things to help the environment while we're out there being stewards of the land. So yeah, that's me.
Cool, man. Yeah. It's been really cool to kind of get to know you and see your journey too. So going back, did your parents hunt? Did anybody in your family hunt, or is that just something that kind of wasn't prevalent in your childhood?
Yeah. So I was raised in the San Juan Islands. I'm not sure if you're familiar. I feel like most people from Washington are, but
yeah.
Small town community, out in the middle of the Puget Sound, like North Puget Sound, Salish Sea. And there was a hunting culture there, but my family was not really a part of it. I like to think of myself kind of as a hippie raised child. My parents were big into, the outdoors and big into nature, but we weren't really hunters. None of my grandparents, none of my uncles, aunts, really cousins, anybody really hunted. But I was always interested in it. I always wanted to try it when I was little. I found it interesting, and I was always interested in, guns and military history and stuff like that. So I kind of connected those two a little bit in my early days, but never really pulled the trigger. I didn't have any connections. I didn't have any friends or family that were going to be going to take me out and show me. So I went through pretty much my entire life without, ever shooting. I shot my first gun when I was 14. It was a 22. In a gun range, pretty boring. But I was hooked. I was like, this is awesome. But my parents didn't own guns. So I really didn't get any exposure until I was 21, when I could buy a gun, or I guess 18 technically, but my first gun was a handgun. So I couldn't get that until I was 21. But going to college, living on my own, and, having an interest and having the ability to make those decisions for myself was eventually what got me into it. So yeah, that's kind of a long-winded answer, but
no, yeah, that's good, man. It's it's cool. Like, um, I feel like throughout life, like you have those things, right? Like you'll gain an interest in something, and for some reason, maybe it's not something your family's done or something you've been around your whole life, but like it keeps coming back, and you're like, I feel like I gotta go do this, like for some reason, and maybe
Yeah.
that's kind of what it seems like you went through with hunting.
Yeah, it was weird, man, because like I moved from a small town to Seattle, right, to go to
Yeah,
college after high school. I studied engineering, like the most like trying to go into tech, trying to go into manufacturing or something along those lines, which is very much the opposite of what you think of when you think of like someone who's interested in hunting. You're
yeah,
blue like yourself, blue collar guy. Been in the outdoors, grew up in the country in rural areas, stuff like that, but I was like big city, right? Big city, big
yeah,
college, lots of people. In a very left leaning city in a left leaning state. So it's just like, yeah, it was a weird thing. Like I wasn't really surrounded by it, but I found my way to it because I had like two friends that were into it or into shooting guns or into the military or more of that country lifestyle, rural lifestyle. So they took me out, they took me shooting, loved it. And then my first hunt was actually a turkey hunt with my buddy from college, and that was the beginning of the obsession for me.
yeah. And that's a great beginning. Like I've noticed that, like that's a really good uh place to take people who are just getting into it is turkey hunting. That's what I'm trying to do with my daughter is, get her into her first turkey hunt. It's like kind of like a soft opening into the world. Um, Taking her out and she got to call and had a gobble come back to her, dude, and it was like the greatest thing on earth.
There is literally nothing better than doing a shot gobble like a crow call or something and hearing just a thunderbird just fire off.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that got me hooked. I have a couple of you can't see right now, but there's a couple of fans on my wall, a couple of wing calls that I made. Yeah, that hooked me big time, and everyone talks about how it's like the begin. It's like similar to elk hunting, and that you get to like interact with the animal. I don't really know that. I haven't had the ability to really do any decent like calling to elk, but I've done a lot of calling to turkey. But yeah, dude, it was awesome. I loved it. I still do it every spring, so
Yeah, that's the gateway. It's the gateway drug, turkey hunting.
it's the gateway drug. Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, so it's kind of funny because like you mentioned like the hippie life, and I feel like, and maybe I'm way off base, but the people that are kind of into that are, I feel like there's a mold or like a melting pot of like the hippie lifestyle of the natural life, and they're kind of realizing like a lot of the hunting is kind of it's cross connections there with the food, the sustainability, people that are homesteading and getting natural food, and I think it's slowly becoming more acceptable looking at it that way in a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, I would say like in terms of the pop culture and social media and stuff like that, I see a lot more of it now than I ever have. People doing homesteading because they don't trust, the food systems that we have because of what happened during COVID. You couldn't find things. Inflation is crazy. You can't, afford good meat or you can't find it. So it's like, yeah, I see that shifting in the social sense. But that was like kind of the big draw for me too. I was like, how can I get the best, most healthy meat possible? Right? It's going to be hunting, and I know exactly where that animal came from. I know what area it's from. I know that it wasn't eating a bunch of pesticide filled, plastic filled like feed and stuff like that, like you get from the factory farm. So the hippie in me was like, hell yeah, like I can do this. I'll be healthy. I'll be eating organic as you can get. Um, and I actually converted my parents pretty hard. Like they were not big hunters. They're very liberal. Very, from the side where you usually hear the anti-hunting from, right? But they just didn't understand it, and that's like
Yeah.
I feel like so much of the issue today is people just being stuck in their ways and not being willing to like open their mind to a new idea or it's not really a new idea. It's just an idea that hasn't been maybe communicated as well as it should have been. So I feel like me and you have been trying to do that, and the rest of the conservation coalition trying to like bridge that gap. because that's what happened to me. I got fully red pilled into it, like.
Yep. Yeah, and it's I think there's a very large quiet community of hunters who are still, of a liberal ideology. There's definitely those far right guys that, since some of them are painting us in a bad way. I like to consider myself kind of Switzerland, as I said before. I kind of meld with a lot of people. I've got ideas on both sides of the spectrum. They sometimes don't come off softly, but
I've seen the group chats. I've seen the group chats, Andy.
Yeah, yep.
Your memes are a little spicy sometimes.
Yeah, I got diarrhea of the brain. Sometimes it just comes out. So
I hear you. Yeah,
so did you learn?
Let me talk on that real quick, because I feel like I was similar. I was raised by a pretty left-leaning family, right? And the whole idea behind the positive side of the liberal agenda, in my opinion, is that we want the best for everyone. We want everybody to have what they need. We want to live healthy. You want to make sure that everyone's taken care of. And I can really resonate with that, right? But we can do that from a place of self-sufficiency, right? And knowing where your food comes from, knowing that you have the decision to make healthy choices, and you have the decision to make unhealthy choices. So it's like the conservative side is accountability, and then the liberal side is taking care of people, even if they're not going to be accountable sometimes. So I feel like I was able to kind of bridge that gap. And so now I'm kind of finding myself in that middle area, kind of that moderate libertarian sort of mindset. I feel like a hunter who isn't a little bit libertarian isn't really a hunter,
Yeah, yep, yeah. Most of us just want to be left alone.
Exactly. And that's the problem. And that's why the conservation coalition is huge too, right? Because it's a bunch of people that don't want to be there, who don't want to do this, but we're doing it anyway. And I feel like those are the types of people that you want actually trying to make things happen, right? You don't want the career politicians, the career advocates to just latch onto something and do it. This is all grassroots. It's been really amazing. So anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
No, you're good. I find that I come from a family that's kind of, my parents I grew up on the west side, Arlington, Marysville. I graduated in Marysville. My dad hunted every year, took us hunting, graduated from Mariner High School. Not exactly a very conservative area, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My grandpa on my mom's side had a farm. So it's I kind of grew up with, one side of my family was pretty left, one side was pretty right. And so right. I kind of fell somewhere. I'm probably definitely a little bit more right than I am left, obviously, but I can see everything. I can see both sides. And that's something that a lot of people need to be able to do too. Maybe you don't agree with it, but it's always good to try to understand it. Yeah, off on a tangent there too. But so with hunting, so when you got started, you said you had a couple friends that hunted. Did they, is that how you learned? Were those your mentors, so to speak, or you kind of, I mean, you're probably still learning. Shit, I'm still learning. Or are you more like trial and error, self-taught going on?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, so how it started was college. I was living in a dorm, or it wasn't even a dorm. It was just a house in Seattle, with 7 other dudes, right? Paying way too much for rent for a house of 8 people, right? But that was how it was in the university district around my college. And one of my buddies was in the basement, and he was studying to be a doctor, and he was the guy who hunted, right? He never did big game hunting. He was pretty much kind of like you, from what I've heard from your podcast. You're a waterfowl guy before you were ever a big game guy.
Yep.
So he went hunting with his uncle for geese up in Canada, and he went for ducks in the Skagit Valley, and he went for sea ducks out in the Puget Sound and the Salish Sea and stuff. So he was big into that, big into shotguns. Never done anything else really. And he would always be watching TV while he studied, right, for his biochemistry exams or his anatomy exams, where he was trying to memorize a million things. Had a huge whiteboard in his room, but he would have his TV running the whole time and I never understood how he could do it. Like how he could study while like a TV's playing. I can't do that. I need to listen to music that's like got no lyrics if I'm gonna listen to music, and like if that I could just just silence. But anyway, one of the TV shows that he was watching was Meat Eater, and so he was obsessed with it, and I was like, huh, interesting. I've always been interested in hunting. I'll watch this with you. And so I would just sit in his room while he studied, sitting on his armchair, just watching Steve Ranella, kill a moose and get charged, and go after mountain goats and all of these things. I'm like, wow, that's like crazy. I can't believe that I've never seen this type of stuff before, right? And also how he brings in, he's not like a political guy, right? It's just like hunting is natural to humans, and we have a primal need to consume meat and to consume food. So I want to go out there and experience it and embrace it. And I was like, wow, this is really awesome. So call me a Gen Z like onset hunter, where I had to learn from the most famous hunter out there on Netflix. But that's kind of what like initially piqued my interest. And then yeah, I just went turkey hunting with him, and he hadn't turkey hunted before, so we were kind of learning together. And we went probably 3 months without getting even close to killing a bird, and just like making mistakes, doing dumb stuff. Looking back on it, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was running around Amazon like $40 camo with a shotgun and trying to find a bird. But it was really fun. I had a lot of fun just like getting out there, right? And then the success came eventually, but that honestly wasn't as good as all of the failures before. Like it didn't teach me as much, So yeah, that's kind of how I started. But it was pretty much all self-taught. It was me and him talking to each other and watching YouTube videos and watching Meat Eater and stuff like that. And that's basically what we did. We talked to other people, but as you know, hunters are very, secretive. They're not the most like, open to telling you, go here, try this, do this. So I didn't have the mentor. He didn't have the mentor. So we just kind of had to figure it out.
Yeah, that's a finicky part of hunting too. Is we need to recruit more guys, but it's so hard because you put in so much work to learn. Like you are now, teaching yourself, and it's like, man, I don't want to give up the goat of all this stuff that I've
right.
worked so hard to find these waypoints, and I can't just send them to this guy.
Yeah, it's tough. I see that now. Yeah,
there's got to be a happy medium though too. I try to any way I can. If anybody's definitely trying to start or struggling, like I would love to help. I got my buddy's first bear basically on the waypoint I told him to go to, and I ended up, I haven't killed a bear yet, and he, I'm in the middle of doing my wife's brakes on her car, and he's like bear down, like in my spot. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh, man.
But it's nothing but, cheers. It was cool. Hiked in, helped him get it out of there, and he's jacked. He went out, bought a new backcountry pack, got rid of the cheap, no frame, like pack, and he's ready to go now. It's so that's all it takes.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you. Same thing happened to me this year. Like my buddy, he was a friend of a friend, basically, or sorry, brother of my friend. He's been hunting his whole life with him and his dad. He's from Snohomish. Shout out to Cody. He was like, hey, I'm not going to go to this area. I haven't been here in 3 years, but when I went up there, I saw bears. And so go check it out. I know you haven't killed a bear in Washington yet. And I was like, all right. And so same thing happened. I killed a bear, and I was like, basically on his waypoint, just like tooling around. And, but I mean, it took a little bit more. It wasn't just like, look at that hillside he marked, and then there's a bear there, obviously. But
yeah.
just knowing that, like, where to go in the right time of the year for bears is just so important. So like, that was really helpful to me, honestly. And like, I have friends like that who have helped me out, and I try to do that for people who are, newer as well. So
yeah, bear definitely, like, that's a huge thing. Like you get a window, in this area that you're going, and if you're before or after that window, it's a big difference maker.
No bears where there was bears in there.
Yeah,
might be bears in like a week, but there's not going to be bears there now.
Yep, they just appear and then they're gone, and it's like, what happened? Yeah, right. It's
what happens when you don't have baiting in hounds, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's still guys out there somewhere baiting, I'm sure. I ran into an old bait barrel last year. It's old. It hasn't had anything on it in a long time, but I was like, well, this has got to be a good place to be. There's like an
Yeah.
old empty like Mrs. Buttersworth jug and stuff laying there.
Oh
And
my
I'm like,
gosh.
yeah,
Yeah. See, that's not the way we're gonna get things done, though. Like,
no,
obviously, we need to like do what we're doing in the Conservation Coalition, push it through in the right tracks. Stick to the legal side of things. Yeah, poaching's not good
absolutely.
for anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, but it
Well,
is too bad that we can't do it anymore. I was in Idaho in spring, and everyone's baiting there, everyone's hounding there, so it's like, yeah,
yeah, I think it's definitely, I mean, it's the most effective way, obviously, from the conversation you were involved in with Bart about
mm-hmm.
cats. Um, and I don't see how people can't understand like how easier it would be to not accidentally shoot maybe a sow with cubs, you know?
Right, or
Um,
like a young boar,
yep,
or like a pair of cubs that are big enough to be their own bear, right? And like
yeah,
look
yep.
like an adult bear. Yeah.
It it's they're hard to judge, and a lot of times it's quick. It happens quick. Um,
Yep.
and my buddy, same story. We were up the weekend I showed him that area, and there was a one walking right at us, and I'm like, hey, and he kind of was like, oh geez, like got excited, and I was like, whoa, 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 let's just first, 2 hours of the day, let's just relax. The bear turned sideways and I could tell when it was coming at us, it was pretty small, and I was like, let's just wait. I know there's bigger bears in here. I've got them on camera. When it turned sideways, it was like solid blonde with like red feet. And I'm like, oh man, we probably should
Ooh,
have shot that bear.
that's a cool bear.
But
That's a cool bear.
it was still little. And I was like, nope. And then it
Yeah.
ended up working out because he shot, big mature boar the weekend after. And so,
There you go.
but yeah, it's tough, especially for a guy like him who's excited to shoot his first bear to not. And you probably
Yeah.
know just as well. Yeah.
I know the feeling. And my buddy, my hunting partner, he's my roommate actually, he's in the other room right now, but he had a similar situation, but he took a shot at not, oh man, such a nice jet black. And it was big, it was mature, it was just chowing on berries. And I'll tell the full story sometime, but basically he took a shot he shouldn't have. He got a little excited. We didn't know if he was going to wind us. Like all of these things come into play when you're doing spawn stock, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, I agree. Bart George talked a lot about how, like, for cougars and for bears, like the way you selectively take something out of the population, right, is being able to either tree them or to get them stuck on a source, right, where they're not going to be running away or they're not going to be coming in, coming out from far away, or something like that. So, hopefully, one day we can get back to that, but that's what we're going to try to do. Hopefully, if the CCW.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So what was your first? So you had a turkey, and then what was your first big
Yep.
game animal you got?
Yeah, so I did turkey in the spring of 2020, literally right when COVID happened. I was like, stimulus check, thanks, Joe Biden. Or no, it was Trump. It was
Yeah.
Trump.
Yep.
Anyway, I was like, thanks, Trump. I'll take my $1,400 and I'll go buy a shotgun. And I'll buy some camo and I'll buy some Longbeard XR, 12 gauge, 3.5-inch shells that just wrecked my shoulder. Like, I'm not a big guy. You met me. I'm like, 160 pounds, almost 6 foot. So like pretty skinny dude. Those turkey rounds rock you, man.
Yeah. Yep. They're a whole nother game. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you shoot duck a lot, and duck shells even are just like a kick in the shoulder pretty hard. So yeah, for a guy who doesn't shoot guns very often, I was like, this is the first thing I'm gonna go hunting with. All right, damn, just don't think about it. But yeah, so I killed a turkey in the fall. Actually, I didn't kill one that spring, but there's fall tags as well,
Yep.
especially in Northeast Washington. There's a ton of turkeys up there, so they like have a pretty liberal limit. And so I shot a gobbler in the fall, and then I was living at home for COVID, so I moved back to the San Juans. And so while I was there, I was like, you can only shoot deer with slug guns or archery equipment or muzzle loaders there because it's too small and they have like a restriction on firearms. So I took my buddy who has hunted his whole life. He's a lot older than me, but went to my high school. He lent me his slug gun. Was like, hey, go sit in the morning at first light, wear your orange, and just wait and see if they come out. And that's pretty much what I did. And so that island is covered in black-tailed deer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the San Juans, Camino, like Whidbey. They're insanely covered because there's not very many predators, right? So they pretty much have no control over the population other than hunting. And so I just sat there in the morning, just chilling in my little like hoodie made out of blaze orange, and nice. Oh my god, this is gonna haunt me till the day I die. But really nice. It was either a 4 or a 5 point blacktail, like typical, just a beautiful deer. Like stopped at like I want to say like 80 yards, and I had just open sights with the bead and with a slug, and I was like, oh my god, I was shaking like a leaf in a hurricane, and I shot at it and it didn't move, and I was like, oh, I missed it, and it just slowly turned around and walked away like 80 yards. Just didn't even care. Just shot at it with the 12 gauge and didn't care. So that's the deer on the island, right? They're pretty docile in a lot of ways, so pretty easy first hunt. But I was like, okay, whatever. And then literally I turn 45 degrees and there's another buck bedded literally like 50 yards away, and it's looking at me. And I was like, why is it lying down? Like there were other deer up and like walking around. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to, wait till he gets up. Slowly gets up. I shoot him. He was at 50 yards, so it was a little easier of a shot. And I balanced myself a little better that time, but got him like high shoulder, kind of by the spine, fell down, went over and finished him off. But he had like a huge infected leg. And so that's why I was bedded down. And that thing stank to high hell. And it was all puffed up and gross. So I was like, oh, this is my first deer. All right. But I drug it over, and my dad helped me load it into a truck, and I took it to my buddy's place and cleaned it, got rid of that leg, and everything else was fine. So that deer was my first big game animal. Pretty easy. First morning out, like second or third day of the season. So pretty easy entry into the big game world. But those blacktails taste really good, so I wasn't too upset about that. So
yeah,
that was my first one. Yep.
So you got this bear this year, and you shot did you get a hide buck too?
Yeah, I did.
That's right.
Yep. Second day.
Without giving away waypoints, but you want to dive into that story a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. But basically, I guess this season I've gone from bear to deer. So I did spring bear in Idaho. It was my first ever out of state hunt, and got my first bear there ever. I had spent 2 years hunting bear with my roommate and my buddy, and we had one bear shot at, but over, however many days of hunting, however many miles, and however many 1,000 feet of elevation. It was crazy. So we really earned the one in Idaho because we hiked in 6 miles and, packed it out and everything. But so yeah, shot one in Idaho. That was in May, and then August rolls around. We went out. I didn't get to go out for the first weekend. I was at Watershed enjoying some country music. I know you like country music too.
Yeah.
Then I went out, I think it was the 14th to 15th. We did like a 3-day in the area I found from my buddy Cody. We hiked in. We actually rode bikes in because for whatever reason, there was a closed road or a closed logging road, right? You couldn't get a vehicle in. So we biked about 9 miles to a trailhead, parked the bikes, hiked another 5-6 miles, and then glassed this bear up from 2 miles away, and then hiked a big loop around to get to it, right? And that's when my buddy missed that bear. And then the next morning, after we were looking for it all day, all evening, we couldn't find it. And so the next morning we kept walking down back towards the trailhead, and the bear we had seen 2 days before or a day before was just chilling, still eating berries about a mile away from where he had shot at his bear. And it was just, didn't have a care in the world. And so I took that bear, and we hiked it out, biked it out, and That was my first Washington bear. So I had 2 bears in like 3 months. So I had a
Nice. Oh yeah.
pretty solid showing. I went from not even a shot on a bear for 2 years to 2 bears in 3 months. So that was a good feeling. But the high buck, I think, was that was the one that humbled me, because holy crap, I had never done high buck before, and that's a hard hunt. Have you done it?
No, I was supposed to go this year, and then I had a buddy flake out on me. Had some family stuff he had to do, which is understandable sometimes.
Yeah.
I wasn't going in. I was thinking about going in by myself, but I'm still battling this arm, so I just didn't think it was probably a very good idea. But
Yeah. A lot can
something I
happen
really
back
want to
there.
do. Yeah, I really want to do. I mean, my spring hunt in Idaho, bear hunt, I only had 4 days. I had to come out, and the day after is when I had surgery. So I did what I could in there with a ruptured bicep. I think we did like a couple thousand feet, and I think we're 6 miles in, something like that. So didn't get anything. Had to come out and get surgery. So I haven't really had much of a season of anything. I just started being able to draw my bow back. And I put in for tags, so I'm stuck with an archery West Side tag. So I'll be trying out late season for elk, but
Yeah, there you go. I mean,
yeah,
it's something to get you into the woods, right? That's like the
yeah.
main
No, I'm
thing.
excited. I'm starting to get
Yeah.
some health back in my arm, so it's getting exciting. I'm ready
Yeah.
for.
What happened to your arm, by the way?
So I
Like I've
ruptured.
heard about it.
Yeah, a distal bicep tendon rupture. So
Okay.
you've got 2 tendons that attach at the top and one that attaches down to your elbow. And
Yep.
the one down at my elbow just detached from the bone, and my whole bicep just wound up in my armpit, basically like a yo-yo.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad deal. Like I knew right away that it happened. I felt
Hmm.
it tear and pop. But long story short, there was a doctor, and then there was a second opinion because the first guy didn't believe me. So I did like 8 weeks at work doing construction until they were like called me and were like, yeah, your MRI's in, it's completely detached from your bone or whatever. And I'm like, oh, cool. What's that mean? They're like, surgery, dude. Like, no. But
Did you just do it from working out or from working or?
oh no, heck no. I was camping and wrestling a buddy, just drinking beer, having a good time. Yeah. Not even an
Funny how,
exciting story.
yeah, funny how that works out. You get injured the most when you're just messing around.
It
It's happened
wasn't
to me
even
before.
like a crazy violent situation.
Hmm.
Like it was just a normal like messing around, and
Yeah.
my arm just went straight quickly, and pop goes the bicep. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It happens. Enjoy your youth, because I'm pushing 40 now, and shit just falls apart apparently.
Yeah. I mean, you should have gone for the mouth tab bow draw like Remy Warren, where he
Yeah.
tore his ligament because he caught that duck or whatever. That was
Yep.
crazy. He's killed some animals with that. You should go ahead and try it, man.
I know. I thought about doing that. So I'm left-handed, and it was my left bicep, but I shoot right-handed, so it's actually the hand I hold the bow with. So yeah, it's been I'm just shooting. I'm at 20 yards, just shooting as many times as I can take it right now.
Gotcha.
I'm not able to hold it real steady. I've got no strength in that arm. I went since March. My bicep has done nothing. So,
Right.
but yeah, it's all right. It's healing up. I got a Idaho deer tag in a few weeks. I'm gonna head into the backcountry for, so that'll be the
Nice.
test.
Cool, man. Yeah. So I guess back to we're going off on another tangent,
Yeah,
which
it's
I
all
feel
good.
like is good. It's a good thing. It's a good conversation if you're going on tangents, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, but that high buck hunt, right? I'd done the miles with bear. I'd done the miles with elk, but I haven't been elk hunting this year at all, just because I was focused on bear for like the good part of August and September, trying to fill a second tag, trying to fill my buddy's tag. Um, but anyway, September 15th, opening day, get out of work. I only have a weekend. Um, my roommate can't go because he's going off grouse hunting with his dad, and So me and another buddy from up in Camino go out. He's never been high buck either. He might have been once, but he didn't ever like take it seriously. So we went up to a undisclosed wilderness area and kind of a similar area to where I shot my bear. Just it wasn't like Eastern Washington, like dry brush. It was more mountainous, more like, alpine. And yeah, we hiked in the night. Like I got off work, drove straight there, did, I don't know, 8 miles to the trailhead and then another 2 up, and camped on the trail and just got up in the morning and glassed all morning. And I actually videoed the whole thing. So I'm going to eventually make a video for it, but I'm still kind of behind on all my other videos that I've got loaded up. I got the bear hunt from spring to do, and like the second part of it, and then I have the bear hunt from the fall as well. So got a lot of editing to do. I'm not very good at it either. So you can understand, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's time consuming.
It is. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not as like, I'm 25. I should know how to use computers, right? I don't know how to use computers very well. I'm an engineer. I don't know how to use computers very well. Anyway, so yeah, we went up that morning. I saw deer. I saw 2 or 3 deers about like 2 miles away down across a canyon in a hellhole, like 2 miles and 1,500 feet of elevation away. And I was in a spotter at like 40 times and it was shaky and I couldn't even get my phone camera on it yet, or like my scope adapter. And so I only saw it with my eye, and then for a split second before it, the deer went into like a bunch of alders to bed down for the day because it was going to be a hot day. It was going to be like 70, 75 degrees. And I was like, I thought that was a buck. But I didn't know for sure. And it was 2 miles away. So I was like, we're going to wait. We'll go fill up on water. So we went fill up on water. Took a while because it was dry up there. Took a while to find a good source. And then went back up, glassed a little bit more. I didn't see anything. So I was like, hey, man, I think we should go over there. Like, I'm pretty sure that was a buck. And he's like, I don't know, man. I'm not feeling it. Like, I don't know what, if we go over there and it is a buck, what if it's not legal, right? Because it's 3-point minimum for a high buck.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? That's the best thing we have. It's Saturday. Tomorrow's Sunday. We got to go back in the evening anyway. I got work in the morning on Monday. So I was like, screw it. I want to go. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to stay here. And I'm like, okay. We didn't have radios. He didn't have a Garmin. He didn't have a Zoleo. So I was like, kind of sus about that whole situation. It's like,
Yeah.
how are you gonna know if I like fall off a cliff, and how am I gonna know if you get attacked by a friggin' cougar or something? So anyway, we kind of came up with an idea of like, if we were in trouble, shoot off 3 rounds. That's kind of the universal I'm in trouble emergency. And so I was like, all right, we both had guns, we're good. And I had some hunter's orange that I put on my backpack so that he could see me as I traversed. And so I hiked that 2 miles, and then it was downhill the rest of the way, basically, after like 1 mile long ridge. And yeah, I started hiking like 3 p.m. and got there by 5 or 5:30. So like took me 2.5 hours to get down. And where that alder brush was that I was telling you about, where they bedded down, there was a kind of a rock face that went up into kind of a spine that went up to the peak of the mountain. And that rock face kind of was sloping at first before it got really steep. So I was like, okay, that's like within 400 yards ish of where that alder bush was. So if I can get to that, then maybe I'll have a good view of them when they come out to feed in the evening time, right? So I dropped my bag off a little bit further back around the edge of that spine so that my scent wouldn't blow all over that area. And I kind of crept up, had my tripod. I have an Arca Swiss plate in the bottom of my rifle. So I fit that into a tripod so that I can take shots stable in really, rough positions. Cause like I've shot off my backpack for like the first 2 years of hunting big game, and that works fine in certain situations. But if you're like backed up against a, tree, or you're on a slope or something like that, it's kind of hard to do. And I don't have a bipod. So I was like, you know what? I already have a tripod. I'll just put that Swiss on and I'll just put it on the tripod and then shoot off the tripod. So I took that up and I just sat up there and just glassed for even take like 30 minutes. And those deer just started coming out of the exact same area where they were before. And I saw a bigger bodied one with its head down, big gray body, had like fully shed its summer coat, and it was just smooth gray. It's like, ooh, that looks like a buck. And it like pulled its head up and it looked straight at me. And I couldn't tell if it was a 3-point, right? Because it was that frontal, and it kind of was it was kind of like a high basket. It wasn't a wide buck by any means. It wasn't a huge buck, but I could tell that it had more than 1 point, right? It wasn't a spike, but it looked straight at me, and I was like, oh geez, I was trying to get my camera to my spotter and like get it on camera, and I get it and it's gone. And I'm like, oh damn. Did I just miss my opportunity? And I could have just shot it and not tried to get it on camera. And I only had one tripod, so I couldn't like put my spotter up and my gun. So I had to choose to either. So I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to film it. I'll just film myself when I take the shot, if I take the shot. So I'm like, oh crap, did I just mess up? And then I saw a fawn and a doe come out, start feeding. And so I was like, that's weird. I thought that up in the high country, like bucks hung out together. Right.
Yeah.
So it must have been like a smaller buck that still hadn't like, gotten big enough or mature enough or dominant enough to like move up into a bachelor group. But I don't really know much about the whole migration and pecking order of mule deer. I'm still kind of learning that, but like, I think that's still like a decent buck. It's not a spike. It's not a yearling. And so I just waited a little bit longer. I had my gun ready that time, and I had my camera next to me rather than, trying to get it on camera. It was all cinched down, leveled out. So like 300 yards, and buck just walked straight out from behind an alder bush, broadside, 300 yards. I was shaking, but that tripod, I was able to like deep breath, like kind of lock myself into it, make sure it was all level, and just barely touch it other than the trigger, right? Try to get zero wobble, and touched off a shot and reloaded, tried to get back on it, but by the time I had looked, like everything was gone, all 3 deer. And I didn't know. It was like rolling hills of alder, and I just couldn't tell. So I didn't know if I shot it or not, but pretty sure it was a good shot. And got all my stuff together, made my way over there, and took about 10 minutes to find it because there was like a big patch of blood right where I shot it. So I was pretty happy with that, but it just disappeared. I think it did like a mule deer jump and somehow didn't, drop any blood between there and the next puddle. But then I found the next puddle and kind of followed it downhill. That's usually what I do. 40 yards away, it was piled up. So
nice.
It's a nice little 3x3, tall with eye guards. So it's like 3 and 3, a little bit wonky, like not 100% atypical. Not 100% typical. And then it had some pretty big eye guards for a small buck. So I was like, this is weird. I wonder if this is just like a deer with some strange genetics, or if it was a young buck, or if it was an old buck with weird genetics. I don't know. But I just dropped that off at Joel's taxidermy shop, who you interviewed recently. And that should be Euroed by, however long it takes him to do. He's got a lot of work on his hands, but that whole hunt, man, I had to pack that buck out on my own because
there was
only. Yep, my buddy stayed behind, so I boned it out, and I was trying to fall asleep. It was like 1 a.m. by the time I had finished boning everything out and getting it all cleaned up in game bags and cooled off. And there was no flat spot in that entire alder area, so I pumped up my pad and tried to sleep on the edge on the flattest spot I could find, and put my backpack next to me so like I wouldn't roll down the hill. And then my pad popped at like 4 a.m.
Yep, that's the worst, man. I had that happen to me. It happened like the last two days of that Idaho hunt, basically just sleeping on the hard ground, man, and it gets a lot harder the older you get. So you basically did you carry your whole camp with you? Like, were you carrying your shelter in there too, or did you leave your shelter back at the trails?
Yeah, so it wasn't supposed to rain that day, but to be honest, we forgot. I forgot my tent, and so we had to stop and buy just like a cheap tarp at a convenient or at a hardware store on our way up there, just to, if in case it rained,
Yeah.
but it wasn't supposed to. Um, but I just no, we just slept out under whatever. But I did have like my sleeping bag, my sleeping pad, all my food, my jet boil, like I had everything. So I was probably like rocking 30 pounds with my, give or take, and then my rifle, which is another like 8 to 9. Um, and and then that I think I can't remember how we weighed out. It was like 55 pounds of meat, and then the skull. And so I don't know how much the skulls usually weigh, but I was probably hiking out with like 90.
Yeah. Yeah. At least.
It wasn't. I mean, I'm not. That's nothing compared to some of the guys out there who are like packing out 150 with elk quarters and stuff, right? But it was up the direction that I had came, which was 1,500 feet off
Yeah.
trail, and then onto a ridge, and then all the way around. So I was like, it took me a good. We had made a plan to like meet up at noon, and if we didn't, he was going to come down and look for me. Um, and I was like, okay, I need to get back there to my noon because I don't want to. I don't want to have him come out here and then us like miss each other and then just
Yeah.
get lost. He doesn't have anything, so I was like, I need to make it up there. So I got up at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and it took me the good part of the morning, pretty much the entire morning to get back, but I made it back like right after noon. And I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. I'm not going to lie. So like that definitely taught me that I have the ability to do more, but my body was not happy with me at all. Like I couldn't feel my legs. My feet were burning. Thankfully I had good insoles, good socks and everything, but yeah, it humbled me pretty hard.
Yeah. That's a tough one, man. Coming up,
Yeah.
I try to shoot everything up. It's, let's take it all down.
Oh my gosh, dude, I wish. I freaking
Yeah.
wish. I do the opposite every time like I have to drag. I mean, actually no, the first mule deer buck that I killed was like it was like 300 feet from the road, so that was pretty easy.
Hey, dude, I'll take those too.
Yeah, you
Um,
gotta have both.
yeah. So you are you running like a Zolio or an InReach?
Mm-hmm. So like a big part of my whole transition into like the backcountry hunting was kind of watching PN Wild guys, right?
Yeah.
Watching their mule deer hunts and stuff, and they're big influences in like and helped me kind of understand what Washington hunting was like, right? It was like them and Samong Yang, who does a lot of turkey and does mule deer and elk and stuff. And those guys are great. A lot of respect for them. But I ran a Zolio because they run Zolios. And it was like a little cheaper than the Garmin and goes through your phone. I was figuring like, I already have my phone. I don't need another Garmin. I'm kind of like a little upset with myself because I feel like the Garmin's kind of more popular and has like more features. But Zolios work great for me. So
Yeah,
can't complain
I
too
run a
much.
Zolio too. I guess I can't really compare it to a Garmin. I've never owned a Garmin, but not having a second thing I've got to like, because you're looking at your maps on your phone, and then you got to like use that thing as well. Like I just clip the Zolio to the pack, and if you turn your messages like refresh off to like manual, like that
Mm-hmm.
battery lasts days. Like you ain't got to worry about charging
Yeah.
it. It's just a
Yeah. I don't have a family to talk to. So, I mean, I have a
yeah,
family, but I don't have kids or a wife. So, yet, hopefully. Um, but like, I don't have it on very often, right? I
yeah,
just turn it off. And when I need to check the weather or I want to send a text at night when I'm done for the day, like I turn it on and I do that and I turn it off. So, yeah, it's pretty simple to me. Like, I try to use OnX to travel around and to track myself or Go Hunt. I don't really use Go Hunt like on the hunt. I use Go Hunt to like kind of prep for the hunt. Um, that's another thing. Like I'm the adult onset hunter, so like I came in with Go Hunt and with OnX. I feel like I kind of missing some of that like primitive like figuring out how to get places and tell where you are without that stuff. So maybe I want to like leave it at home for a couple of hunts at some point, but we'll see. They're so useful, so it's kind of like hard to not use them.
yeah. It's funny you say that because I found that Go Hunt is definitely what I use like at home on my desktop and preparing for a hunt, but like I feel like onX is so much easier on the phone out in the field to like maneuver through.
Yeah. It's just been around for longer, right? And
Yeah,
it's, it's a little bit more user friendly, I feel like, and more like the icons are crisp and stuff like
yeah,
GoHunt looks great, but it's like so detailed and it almost looks like it's like Google Earth, right?
yeah, yep,
You know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they're great tools. I think I think it was with Jake. I was talking about this a little bit, but gotta be careful though, because if your calibration on your compass on your phone ain't right, it will get you jacked up and turned around. Because that happened to me, and luckily I knew where I was.
Huh.
Because yeah, and I think I mentioned this with Jake too. I got back and I was like, dude, I was going in and I was just checking cameras. I'm like, this is not right. This thing's telling me to go way in the wrong direction. I'm like, did not go down that ridge. I'm like, what is this thing telling me to do? And like I kept second guessing myself, and finally I just put it in my pocket. And I'm like, nah, I know it's this way. I'm going this way.
You
And
almost you almost did the Michael Scott drive into the pond following the GPS
yeah, dude,
from
yeah,
The Office.
exactly. I was like, I gotta just trust. I know where I'm at,
Yeah.
so when I got back to work, I took like I was telling the story, and I was like, hey, I had like I have an iPhone, but he had an iPhone. There's a couple Samsungs. And I took them and I put them all on the track of the excavator at the job site. Turned all the compasses on, all next to each other, and some of them were up to like 12 degrees in different directions. And I was like, okay, well, I got to find something. I got to carry a regular compass or something
Yep.
just to double check what this thing says. Cause
Yeah, I feel like mine's always off by like a few degrees, just like slightly off, right? It
yeah,
tracks fine, like the path is okay, but like wherever it says I'm pointing forward, it's not perfectly forward. So I feel
no,
like
yeah.
that's pretty common.
Yeah. I mean, 12 degree, like if you're hiking with a buddy, like the dude the hunt with, his phone was 12 degrees different than my phone. And that's a big difference in 2 miles, like if,
Yeah. You're
so
like half a mile apart at that point, honestly. Like after
yeah.
2 miles.
So I picked up a Garmin
Like a
watch.
quarter.
It's got a compass built into it, just something that I can look at the same time. Be like, okay, I'm actually going that direction. Because yeah, like I said, luckily I was somewhere where I knew where I was.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's good. I mean, back to the tangent. Back off the tangent. I listened to your conversation with Jake about the Garmin and like tracking all your stuff. And I've always thought about getting a smartwatch. I'm just not a watch guy. I feel like it's hard to like get into that world, but also so useful in so many ways. Yeah.
this is like my first watch. Like I was not a watch guy either. I tried like
Yeah.
an Apple Watch, and I don't have the attention span to charge it every night. Like it was driving me
Right.
bananas. So I sold it. This thing goes like 25 days. My notifications pop up on it. So if it's something I don't need to pick my phone out of my pocket for, I can look at it and be like, yeah, screw that. And then get back to what I was doing. You know, no,
Cool.
that's just a house on Zillow I can't afford.
Oh, I know
Uh,
all about that, dude. I know all about that.
yeah. Um, so what do you got coming up? Are you going back out of state this year?
Yeah, probably for spring bear again. That's the plan. But also I was trying to get leftover elk tag in Idaho for an area that me and my buddy have hunted before, or that he's hunted before, and he was telling me that we should try, but didn't work out. Idaho draw system is a S storm. It's crazy out there.
Yeah.
I think I was like 13,000 in line, and there was like 50,000, like 30,000 behind me. It was like insane how many people jump on that. Um, so no elk in Idaho, but we're gonna go for whitetails. It was easy to get like a whitetail tag there because they're all over the place in like central and northern Idaho. So I think we have 3 tags between us, a doe tag and a couple of buck tags. So I'm gonna try to kill my first whitetail. It's the only subspecies of deer that I haven't killed yet. So hopefully get one of those in November, and then coming back and doing late season archery for elk. So Washington.
Nice. Doing
Yep.
east side.
Yeah, I was trying to get over there for a little bit of the archery season, but it just didn't work out with high buck, with bear, and with um, my grandpa passed away like the past like 2 weeks ago. So like family stuff. So I wasn't able to get out there before the end of the early season, which is kind of like the hot time to do it. But hopefully I went out there last year for late season. Holy moly. There's so many elk. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like in the wintering zone, it's just cool to see them and just to listen to them. But it's tough to hunt them, especially with archery equipment in the snow. So
Yeah, and a lot of the units they went spike only too, even with archery.
oh yeah, they're all spike only pretty much. I think there's only like one there's one GMU that actually like has a decent amount of like bulls pulled out of on the east side, and it's like scattered population. It's like the remnants of a different herd basically that come over. I hunted that last year and we heard elk and I saw some cows, but I never saw a bull. But yeah, it's tough in Washington to get a bull tag on the east side, especially.
Over here, like where I live, well, shit, it might have been 4 years ago, I guess. You used to be able to over the counter cow tag with archery. Yep. And so even those have all gone to spike, which is a little frustrating, but
yeah, I'm wondering if that's really a good tactic for like herd management, but I don't really know much about it, the biology of it, but I've heard it's kind of like not a good idea to kill all the like males before they get into breeding age.
It doesn't make, that's, I don't know. I'm not a biologist, but you go to the feeding stations and it's like thousands of cows. And then there's like no like big population of spikes, coming up. You've got this big gap of like, there's these giant bulls and then there's, and I don't know. It's way above my pay grade, but it seems like a weird way to go.
It is weird. I have a cow tag for late season, so I can shoot both, thankfully. But we'll see. I'll probably spend at least a good. I got Thanksgiving off, right, for my job, and so I'll probably spend 3 or 4 days out there. See if I can make it happen. It'll be like three big game animals in a year, like the main 3. So that's the goal, but we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything you want to dive into more on like the work you're doing with the coalition and the conservation side of things. You've obviously been on a few episodes. You've always got a level-headed like look at things. And I cannot say that that's where I was at 25 years old.
Man, yeah, inside I'm not level-headed. I'm definitely screaming on the inside and like, this makes zero sense what the commission's been doing, the direction they're headed in. Same as you. I feel I'm just as pissed and, kind of over it, but I've learned that like coming from both sides, parents who are liberal and then a lot of friends who are, conservative and friends who are in the middle, like people just get mad and that doesn't really solve anything. People lash out at each other. It doesn't solve anything. So I'm trying to come from a place of, connecting the like values of both. Right. And so like the whole idea behind my Instagram Next Generation Hunter is that like, I want to involve both sides. We've got the hunters who have been doing all this stewardship, doing all this conservation work and funding this conservation work, right? Even if they're not, doing advocacy like we are, or if they're not participating in stuff, they're still putting money into wildlife. And then you have the anti-hunters and like the animal rights activists or the, people who are saying we need to conserve and preserve our animals. And I agree, we should definitely make sure that our animal populations are good. I think all hunters agree. But it's like, where can we find common ground? And so that's why the whole conservation coalition was so instrumental in me getting involved. It's because like I could see it as an opportunity to bridge that gap. And from my standpoint, like where I come from, what I'm passionate about is like, how can we live sustainably? And I feel like that's a buzzword these days, but it's really not. Like it's sustainable, self-sufficient. They're all kind of one and the same, right? And a lot of people who are driving Teslas and put solar panels on their house and buy at farmers markets and stuff like that are preaching animal rights, when the animals that we're hunting are a sustainable resource. They're some of the best protein in the world, if not the best. And if we hunt them ethically and we put the money back into, conserving them and expanding and helping their populations, it'll last for as long as we do that. It's when we give up, or it's when we say we need to preserve everything and stop killing all these poor animals. Yes, no one enjoys death. Yeah, death is not great, but it's necessary. And I always go back to the rant from Ted Nugent, who's like,
I was just going to talk about it. Yep.
if you want to kill the most animals, you be a vegan, or you be a vegetarian who buys tofu, and you buy soy, and you buy corn products, and all of these highly processed and actually like really harmful foods, right? But also what goes along with that is you're killing all the animals, all of the insects, all of the, soil by either poisoning with pesticides or herbicides, or you're chopping up in a combine, or you're gassing the animals. Like, it's like me and you shoot one bear, that bear feeds us for however many months, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And then that money goes directly back to conservation.
Yeah. It's I don't know if they're just willfully ignorant sometimes, or like, I've had these conversations with people. I'm like, how do you not? You can sit there and tell me how bad commercial farming is, and then tell me how bad. I think we can all agree. Yeah, right. And then you're going to tell me how bad. How bad I am for going out and trying to sustainably live without commercial farm. Like we got to do something. I don't know.
My goal is to supplement my diet with as much wild game protein as possible. And then when I can't get that, it's grass-fed beef, it's bison, it's local stuff. It's raw milk. It's all of this stuff that hippies love. Like my parents, my parents fed me, yogurt, organic yogurt, and goat's milk and stuff like that when I was a kid. I turned out pretty healthy. I'm still pretty healthy. I think that it was a good thing for me, and it kind of taught me to eat well. Never been a fast food guy, other than college years, late nights. But it's one and the same, right? It's just coming from a place of I'm willing to go out and make the sacrifice to kill something and take that. It's like a little bit of trauma, right? Seeing an animal die, but you really appreciate where it comes from. And that's how I got into nutrition and got into realizing all this stuff is terrible for us, all this pesticide ridden food and stuff. And so I'm going to eat as much meat as I can from good sources. And I'm also going to eat, other things, but it comes from a place of sustainability, and also picking up trash when you're out hunting. People don't talk about that. I'm a crazy litter. I hate litter more than anything in the world. You can look at my Instagram. I'm always picking up litter.
Yep. No, I've noticed that. That's awesome. I've actually, I wish I would have started it earlier, but I rock a GoPro on my backpack, and I've started every time I walk up to a balloon. I mean, how many balloons have you found?
Bro, this season alone, I think it's been 4 or 5.
It's crazy, right?
Those Mylar balloons are the scourge of my existence.
Everywhere. And so I've started filming me walk up and pick one up, and hopefully sometime I'll have a pile of those, and I'll make some kind of a montage video of because dude, it's got to be, like you said, 5, 6, 7 a year, easy. Yeah, I'm walking up to somewhere.
Oh man, your gender reveal parties are not worth throwing crappy stuff into the environment for the rest of eternity, man.
Well, as a guy who owned cows, I sold my cows a little over a year ago, and every time I turn them out into pasture, you got to go check for Kmart doesn't exist anymore, I guess, but Walmart bags floating around in the pasture. You get a calf out there, just like you would a calf elk, sees this shiny balloon and tries to eat that thing. Well, there you go. Your gender reveal party just did more damage than I'm probably doing on elk this year.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think the whole painting hunters as evil killers who just want to go out and shoot stuff for fun, that's not accurate at all. I kind of believed that a little bit when I was growing up. I grew up in a non-hunting family. That was in all the books and children's books and the TV shows and stuff, the hunters are the bad guys. So
Yep.
it's
Always.
kind of been instilled in our society that, that's how it is. But I think you are too, and everyone in the conservation coalition are trying to flip the script and be like, this is actually what's happening. You got the mainstream people who have put it out there, but they're not like actively, trying to like shut people down when they're speaking lies, right? That's what we're trying to do. Like, we're calling out the BS. So yeah, that's basically like my closing thoughts are just like, I'm trying to live my best life and be happy and do what I'm passionate about, while also trying to, help the environment, help wildlife, and, make it a better place for my kids one day, same as you.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And and it's cool. Like, I think there's a lack. I don't know if there's a lack, but I don't see as many young kids coming up hunting. I don't see as a dude who works in the trades and in construction. I think the stats like 7 for every 7 that retire, only one's coming in. For a guy who rodeoed for a long time, when I was rodeoing, there was like 40 of us trying to get into one rodeo, and now there's like 2 guys that show up. And same, I feel like with hunting, it's kind of a lot of this stuff. It takes a little more grit, I guess, a little more effort. Everybody's looking for an easy button. It's kind of going by the wayside. So it's cool to see, like someone like you take on this lifestyle a little later in life. Teach yourself how to do it, and then advocate for it. Right?
Yeah, you calling me old, Andy?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying a little later in life is a guy like me who, we get set in our ways, and there's a lot of things that I like to sit back and think about that maybe like you've experienced in the last few years hunting that I would or most guys that have done it for a long time kind of glaze over that part of it. So I've found myself making that a point, like the last few years, is to take that in. And maybe I don't feel a tag, but maybe that challenge of trying to find water in a dry area and going up into the backcountry in Idaho with one arm, basically, like, it's more enjoyable as an experience. Off on another tangent, but yeah, like I was saying, it's cool to see people trying to paint us in a different light. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely those redneck lunatics out there poaching deer, the spotlights, like that is a thing.
Yep, there always will be. There's gonna be bad people.
Yeah. It's poaching. So helping spread that word is great. I think you're doing awesome. I love your Instagram and your videos. So
yeah, I'm not as good about posting as I was. I've been busy as heck, but I'm trying to get back into it as kind of the season winds down. I'm focusing on, work and other stuff, but I'm going to try to find more time to put into the Instagram and the YouTube. I have like 3 videos on there. It's been like 4 months since I put it out. So I'm going to try to put some on there, but yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. Like, it's good to hear coming from someone who didn't really have a mentor, right? It's great getting to know you and Gary and Mike and Joel and all those guys who are, been in the trenches for a while and understand what's going on. Like, I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to like the history of what's happened in Washington and hunting in general. So it's great to have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning it too. But yeah, we need everyone, all walks of life.
For sure.
But so yeah, man, if you got anything else you want to get out there, I appreciate you coming on. We'll have to do this again sometime. We're gonna have to go hit up the woods. I need to get in the backcountry.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I'm super down. And yeah, I don't really have much left. I would just say, for all the people out there who think that it's impossible to get into hunting without being from a hunting family, it's not. It's just really, really freaking hard. It's a lot of, it's not that it's hard in the sense that the skill, is unreachable and you need to like put in all this effort to get the skill. It's like consistency and, going out and experiencing things over and over again, failing over and over again, slowly acquiring the gear you need. You don't need to get all the fanciest like backcountry light, ultra lightweight, all that stuff. I was hunting with a Ruger American that was like $200 with like a $300 scope on it. And that was a lot for me, right? But yeah, you just get out there and do it, because honestly, if you've ever wanted to, there's nothing stopping you nowadays. You can learn everything you need to online, in books, from people. If you have them, if you don't, you can still do it. And last thing for me is that we talk about how I'm passionate about hunting and sustainability and stuff like that. But what I don't talk about a lot is just like the mental health aspect of like what hunting has done for me. Like, I was in the middle of COVID in like my second to last year of college, and going through depression, having problems with alcohol, as you do in college. But I was just not in a good place, man. Having relationship issues, problems with girls, early 20s, like the full nine, right? And I would go a few days without leaving my room sometimes. Like, I would be skipping classes and I'd be, feeling like a piece of crap. And really what hunting has done is like change my perspective on life, and that you put in the effort, you have a passion, you follow it, and you don't give up, and you continue to improve little by little every day. It's better than saying, I'm going cold turkey on something, or I'm going to do this today. You just got to continuously work towards a goal. And so I failed and failed and failed, but what it's done for my mental health and my physical health and my spiritual health has been unmatched. So I just want to say, like, changed my life and probably saved my life, at least the trajectory of my life. So I'll always be thankful for that. And thank you so much for letting me, talk and share it. I really appreciate it. I know I've been on your podcast a bunch, but I feel like I haven't really gotten to chop it up with you.
Yeah. We finally got her nailed down, though. We've been trying to get this one going. We're both a couple busy guys. And I love the fact you brought that up. I don't think that gets talked about enough. I've been trying to hit that a little bit on the last few episodes about the mental health part of it, because that is a huge thing, and it's a big thing for me. Like, that's a place I find peace. I know I've even taken, I've got 2 kids. My wife takes care of the kids. My wife's life is insanely hectic with that. And then when she gets to go check trail cams, just to get out in the woods and not hear kids yelling at her, and the only thing she's got to think about is stepping over the next log, she has made it very vocal, the peace that she finds out there.
I think it's universal, man, because
yeah,
we're humans. We're supposed to look for food and shelter and survive. And if you can just break it down and focus on those things, everything else just kind of fades away and doesn't seem like that big of a deal.
100%, man. That's awesome. But
well,
thanks, Will.
Appreciate it, dude. I hope we can see each other before the next meeting. I think we're planning on it, right? Something like that before the next meeting.
Yep. Yeah. We'll get together. I know there's a little event coming up that they're gonna do. I don't really want to give too much away on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to. But yeah, hopefully. If anyone else listening and interested, we got the commission meeting. It's the 27th of October?
Yep. Yeah.
I want to say. Yeah. So everyone who's interested in speaking and standing up for hunting, man, that's what it's all about. Showing up.
Yeah. Reach out to, Will, me, anybody that's involved in the coalition. Go find out her old buddy Gary in the cupboard, or
follow us on Instagram and see some of Gary's antics.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, thanks again, Will, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Have a good night.
go.